Welcome to Hilary Emmanuel Ministries, where faith meets power, purity and prosperity, and breakthroughs are born. At Diadem, we equip you with bold prayers, life-transforming teachings, and spiritual strategies to overcome every challenge life throws your way. Join us as we dive into God's Word, experience His presence like never before, and walk in His purpose for our lives. If you're in London, we invite you to fellowship with us in person at Diadem, 4 Pegamoid Road, N18 2NG. Don't forget to subscribe now and let's grow in faith together.
Brethren, I want you to get yourselves ready because tonight is a night of miracle. And you are going to experience the miracles of God. You are going to experience the kind of miracles that you only read about in the Bible. We are going to pray some prayers here today. We are going to pray for ourselves. And we are going to pray for our prosperity. And we cry unto God for miracles. The kind of miracles that God did for the children of Israel. The Bible says in Exodus chapter 19. Exodus 19 in verse 1. It says, in the 3rd month, when the children of Israel were gone forth out of the land of Egypt, the same day came they into the wilderness of Sinai, for they were departed for Rephidim, and were come to the desert of Sinai, and had pitched in the wilderness, and there Israel camped before the mount. A gulf, a chasm that is unsurmountable. So God had to carry them in order to cross over. You see what he said, and I brought you to myself. Because God is at the other side. God is at the other side, at the promised land. So in order for them to get to where God had to carry them on eagle's wing, God will carry you on eagle's wing today. And that's the kind of miracle we want to cry unto God for here today. And that's why I'm talking to you on what I call crossing the gulf between poverty and riches. Crossing the gulf between poverty and riches. We know what poverty is. We don't need to introduce that one. And we know what riches is. But what of gulf? Gulf is, if you like, you call it a bottomless pit. A bottomless pit. A pit that has no end. A wide range of pit that nobody can cross. That's a gulf. So, brethren, between rich people, rich people are the other side of the gulf. Poor people are the other side of the gulf. Between rich people and poor people, there is a massive gulf. Are you understanding me? And that's why they are not friends. How many billionaires do you see have poor people friends? How many poor people do you see have billionaires? Because they don't meet. They don't come across each other. They live at there's a divide. There's a divide. Except you begin to feel now, that now you can begin to, there's a lot of people claiming a new thing happening now. You can say, well, I was trapped in the body of poverty, but originally I was supposed to be a millionaire. But it's a mistake that I was born like this. And you begin to claim it. But that is just claiming. I was listening to a video yesterday. That thing, what do they call it now again? That's the new insanity happening now. And this black lady said that, he said that she was mistakenly trapped in the body of a black person, that she's a white child. That even when she was a baby herself, she doesn't cry like black children's baby. She was crying always, that black baby children, they cry loud, but she was crying just very, very. So you now see that sometimes you can begin to, you can claim that one, you are free. That you were trapped in the wrong body of poverty, that's fine. That originally you were created to be rich, which is true. So, but what I want to show you is that there is a gulf, a barrier, a divide. But today, you will cross that barrier. Luke chapter 16. Luke 16. Look at verse 19. The Lord Jesus Christ was teaching. He said, there was a certain rich man. Are you following me? Please follow me. There was a certain rich man, which was clothed in purple and fine linen, and fared sumptuously. I want you to begin to notice the kind of life that is on the other side of the gulf, because the life is not the same. You see the kind of dressing. Their dressing is different. Their food is different. He said he ate sumptuously. Real food. Real food. You know, there was a video I forwarded to some people yesterday where one people, you know, these people that make mockery and do jokes. They met this man on the road and say, assuming they make you the president of Nigeria today, what will you do? He said, me? He said, you mean president of Nigeria? He said, yes. He said, I will fall for chop. I'm hungry. So you now see that on the other side of that gulf is hunger. Serious hunger. He said, I will sleep for 5 days. Nobody should disturb me. So which means the other side, no rest. No. So you need to take note of what the way the Lord Jesus Christ presented the whole thing. So he said, this rich man, when he wants, he said his meal, his food is sumptuous. Every day. Nothing like today. You use gari, mingle with granite, and nothing like that. Sumptuously. Verse 20. And the other side, he said, and, are you following me? And, when the Bible says, there was a certain, the other side of the gulf, named, they call his name, which was laid at his gate, full of, do you see what comes with poverty? No money to go to hospital. No proper medical care. Nothing. What does it cost to treat sores? But because of poverty, they couldn't treat the sores. And desiring to be fed with the crumbs. That's the life. That's the life on the side of poverty, of the gulf, the other side. Desiring to be fed. Always desiring to be fed. Somebody has to feed. You can't stand up and go and get things by yourself. Somebody has to support you to eat. Desiring to be fed from the rich man's table. Moreover, the dogs came and licked his sores. Because that's where you see all kinds of things. The monkey, dogs, they are all snake, they are all that side. You can't find them on the rich people's side. Dogs too are looking for what to eat. And it came to pass that the beggar died. I want you to close your eyes and say, my God and my Father, I refuse to die at the gulf of poverty. I will not die. My children will not die. Dada will not die at the gulf of poverty. Jesus. Nay, we prayed. Friend, this is a serious prayer you just prayed. Lazarus couldn't cross that gulf. All his life, he remained at the other side of the gulf, at the what you call the gulf of poverty. He died there. And he was buried. And in then verse 22, and it came to pass, he was carried by the angels into Abraham's bosom, and the rich man also died and was buried. Abraham didn't go to Lazarus didn't go to Abraham's bosom because he was poor. Don't ever allow any person to tell you that if you die at the gulf of poverty, you will go to Abraham's bosom. It's not true. It's not. In fact, majority of poor people now, they are the one populating hell more. He went there because he feared God. He believed God. He served God. But was it God's plan for him to die in that side? That's a discussion for another day. Not today. Let's talk about the gulf, because our target is to cross that gulf. We'll cross it today. So the rich man also died and was buried. Verse 23. And in hell he lifted up his eyes, being in torments, and seeth Abraham afar off, and Lazarus in his bosom. And he cried and said, Father Abraham, have mercy on me, and send Lazarus, that he may dip the tip of his finger in water, and cool my tongue, for I am tormented in this flame. So this is now the other side of the gulf, the eternity. We are talking now about the physical one first. Our focus today is on the physical one. So now look at what follows. Verse 25. But Abraham said, and I'm going to show you why the rich man went there, which is not your portion. Because you are going to be rich. You are going to be wealthy. And you will go to heaven. Let me show you why the rich man went to hell. So, but Abraham said, son. So he was supposed to be a son. He was supposed to be a son. He said, remember that thou in thy lifetime received thy good things, and likewise Abraham evil things. But now he is comforted, and thou art tormented. Verse 26. And beside all this, he said, beside all this story we are telling you, beside all this go and come on. Are you following me? He said, between us and you, there is what? A great gulf fixed. And that is the gulf that didn't allow Lazarus to cross. Look at what Abraham said about the gulf. So which those who want to cross, who will pass from thence to you, cannot. Neither can they pass to us that will come from thence. Do you see the power of the gulf? And that's why you see billions and billions of people on earth. If they are born the other side, if they give, because majority are born this side. If they give birth to them on the other gulf, the island, the other side, that's the end. Because Abraham said it's impossible to cross it. That's why I say you are going to experience a miracle. That's why it's a miracle. The eagle's wing miracle. That will carry you up and lift you above that gulf. Verse 27. He said, then said he, I pray thee therefore, Father, that thou wouldest send him to my father's house. For I have 5 brethren, that he may testify unto them, lest they also come into this place of torment. And Abraham told him, there's Moses, there's all of them preaching there, he should listen to them. And then he now says something, he says, no, Father Abraham. That is what took him to hellfire. That language, no. He has said no to the Lord, no to the gospel, no to everything God, no to salvation. Those are the things that took him to hellfire. Not because he had money, not because he was rich, but he rejected the salvation of God. But that is not your case. You have the salvation. You are a child of God. Your name is in the book of life. So there's nothing that will take you to hellfire. So the only thing now is that you must not continue to inhabit the gulf of poverty. The metaphor of a gulf between poverty and riches, as depicted in this parable, the rich man and Lazarus in the Bible, it signifies a vast separation. It signifies a vast disparity. And in many societies, they divide between the rich and the poor. And we see it clearly in our world today. They divide between the rich and the poor. Sometimes within the same town. They will deliberately create some quarters for poor people and create some quarters for rich people. And those rich people, if they see you cross their quarter, they will be looking at you closely. That you don't resemble who belongs to you. Sometimes they ask, who are you visiting here? They want to know who among them is welcoming people like you. Because they don't want to be infected. And deliberately, if you look at the houses they buy for millions, is it worth it? Is it not useless houses? The same type you live in here in your house. And their own, they will tell you it's 17 million, 20 million. Why? What is there? But they deliberately do it that way. So that you don't cross there. So that nothing brings you closer to that place. And do you know that with that divide comes a lot of things? It comes with access to opportunities. It comes with access to resources. It comes with access to good education. It comes with access to health care. And even political influence. You know, there are some people, they will give them appointment in NHS for 2 years for hip replacement. Or the whole joint of the hip has scattered. They are just wobbling as they are going on the road. Wobbling and wobbling. 2 years they have to wait. When the appointment is about to reach like this, COVID will come out again. They postpone it for indefinitely. Those that inhabit the gulf of riches, the gulf of wealth, they don't for any appointment. They go to do you know that it's not all the doctors that treat those ones that treat you. Maybe you should go and Google it by yourself and Google private hospital in London and see how much they charge. Some of them is on insurance. It's on insurance, heavy insurance. And they will treat you like a king, take good care of you. And that's why you see some of these presidents from different African countries, when they're about to die, they will rush them here. Somehow, I don't know what they do to them. They will do magic, survive them again. If it is back where they are, that's the end. These are the things we talk about. The life at the other side is not the same as the life this side. And the gulf we are talking about appears when a small percentage of the population of the earth they control the global wealth. It's estimated that only 1%, the global, more than twice the global wealth, only 1%. So the remaining 99 point something, they are the one that occupy the other side. You know what I'm talking about? I'm talking of gulf of and wealth too. I'm not talking about poverty line. That one is on this side also of the poverty side. There's what you call poverty line. And they say somebody has crossed poverty. You hear United Nations use that language all the time. Poverty line, poverty line. That one is different. That one is in this side of gulf of poverty, they have poverty line. People that cross that one, they can ride cars, use microphone, do a lot of things, do different things. Buy phones, wear good shoes, but they are still on the other side. But I'm talking about crossing to the gulf of wealth, the other side. That one is only 1% of the whole earth population that is there. And they make the decision that control everybody on earth. They are the ones that make decision. They can decide today and say you should be shaving your head like this. You shave it. Tomorrow they say, no, we don't like the way you shave it the other side. And you have to obey. They change the rules. They change the laws. And the laws are not made for them. They make the laws for the other people living at the other side. Proverbs 22. Proverbs 12, verse 6. He said, train up a child in the way. Are you following me there? In the way, we have always used this to mean train up a child by beating the child. That's not what he's talking about. He said, show the child, say there's a gulf here. Try to cross it to the other side. In the way you should go, in the way of wealth, in the way of poverty. How do I know? How do I interpret Bible like that? Look at the next verse so that you understand why. Look at verse 7. I say, because when he grows up, he will not depart from it. If you train up your child this side, and the child get accustomed to this side, that's the end. Look at verse 7 so that you understand why that way. Say, train up a child in the way to get wealth, in the way to prosper, so that when he grows up, his life will not be like the father's life. Verse 7, so that you see the reason. He went to verse 7 and explained. He said, the rich, are you following me? Ruleth over. From the other side, though, of the gulf, they are still coming to rule over the people at this side. The rich ruleth over the poor, and the borrower, because this side, they always borrow from the other side. The borrower is a servant to the lender. And that's why I say, train up your child how to cross the gulf. So that if you cannot cross it, let your child cross it. But you will cross it too. I say it has become compulsory. Because you are in diadem, you must cross it. But how easy it is, brethren, to cross it? How easy? We saw already, Lazarus struggled all his life and died that side. He couldn't cross it. Crossing the gulf from poverty to riches is considerably more challenging than just moving between poverty line. I told you that poverty line is the one this side. That one you can cross. The people can cross poverty line and improve their condition. And have good food to eat sometimes, and drive car, build house. They are still on the other side. They have not crossed the gulf itself. It's poverty line they cross. So it's more than just crossing the poverty line. Isaiah 45. Isaiah 45. No human being can cross that gulf except a spirit being puts hand. Did you hear what I say? Without the involvement of a spirit being, no human being can cross it. Do you hear what Abraham told the rich man? He said it is fixed. It's impossible. You can't cross it. You can't cross it. Except a spirit being gets involved. Unfortunately, many people go to the wrong spirit beings. They go to Satan. They go to occultism. They go to witchcraft. They go to darkness. Those ones, if they cross you, they cut your leg when you reach that side. If you cross you, reach that side, they take even the hand or the leg. They cut one thing there. Or they cut the life short. So a spirit being must be involved. Isaiah 45, look at verse 1. Thus said the Lord to his anointed, to Cyrus. When Isaiah was prophesying this, and Cyrus was not born yet. Cyrus was a Persian that has nothing to do with Israel. Look at what God said. A child that is not yet born. Look at what God said. Whose right hand except God holds your right hand, help you, pull you across that gulf. That's the miracle you are going to experience here today. God will hold your right hand, lift you up, across the gulf to the other side. Do you see what he said now? He said, Cyrus, because you are going to be born automatically to the other side, I have to hold your right hand and help you. Look at what he's talking about. Look at what he's talking about. He said, to subdue, these are the gulf, these are the barriers that make it impossible for anybody to cross. And I will loose the loins of kings to open before him the two-leaved gates. Do you see the gulf? Do you see the thing? Why is God doing all this kind of level of high things? To be able to reach something, to be able to reach something the other side, to cross the gulf, to reach the other side. Do you see how many things God has to deal with here now? Kings, has to demolish them. Nations, he has to deal with them. And now, he has to now open the two-leaf gates, and the gate shall not be shut. Verse 2, I will go before thee. Say, not only that, if I leave you to go by yourself, you can't go. He said, I have to go with you. Go before you and make the crooked places straight, because it's a gulf. And I will break in pieces the gates of brass. This is another gate. Another one is two-leaf gate. Now this is gate of brass. And cut in sunder the bars of iron. Do you now understand why the majority of human beings born on earth will struggle and struggle, die at the gulf of poverty? They can't cross it. Which human being can do all these things? Which human being can overcome this level of barriers and cross all these obstacles? Verse 3. And I will now, he said, when I have done all those things, what is it doing all these things? Look at where they are going now. This is where they are going now. And I will give thee treasures. It's all because of treasures. And hidden riches of secret places, that thou mayest know that I, the Lord, called thee by name. I am the God of Israel. Now, the kind of money the father was talking here, it's not ordinary money. It's not the money of crossing poverty line, that you are able to eat 3 square meal. You are able to ride 1 car. No, that's not kind of wealth. It's the wealth that can build a nation. Because he told him in verse 4, he said, I'm doing this because of Israel, so that you can go and rebuild Jerusalem and rebuild the nation of Israel that have been destroyed. So it's that kind of riches. It's that kind of wealth. And that kind of wealth is not found in this other side of poverty gulf. It's at the other side. Do you see what God has to cross? Do you see the gulf they had to cross to reach where the treasures are, where the hidden riches are? That's what we are talking about. And do you know, there are people that think that, well, I can cross on my own. All I need to do is to just activate my me. I'm very intelligent. And some people might think that, well, all I need is connection. Others will think that, well, I need just to fight. Do you know that there are people that joined robbery, join all kinds of things in life, so that they can cross that gulf? In fact, the more they struggle, the more the gulf get deeper. Look at it. James chapter 4. Look at verse 1. James was asking a question. He said, from where come this war and fighting? He said, all this war and fighting, where does it come from? And among you, he said, come they not hence, even of your laws that war in your members? Then verse 2. He said, ye lost, that is, you desire to have, and you don't have. You even kill, and to have, and you cannot get it. You fight war, and you don't still have it. Why? Because all you need is to ask. So you ignore the principal thing. And that's the asking we are going to do here today. You say all you need is to ask. Do you know how simple God made it for Cyrus? A Gentile, a Gentile. He made it so easy for him. So you can see here that it's so difficult, if not impossible, to cross the gulf between poverty and riches, because the gulf is fixed. That's what Abraham said. He said it is fixed. Fixed by the foundations, fixed by the global systems, like systemic barriers. And this can even include systemic racism. Now, they say it's equal opportunity, isn't it? If you feel from, they say, put where you come from. so that they will know where to throw your own form into. So that they will know where to throw your form, so that they don't go further with it. Systemic racism, then caste systems, or cult affiliations. These are deeply entrenched class structures, and they hinder what you call social and economic mobility, so that you cannot just move freely. Hey, I'm this poverty side, let me go to the wealth side. It's not possible. And it's these economic systems that lock over 99% of people living on earth out of the global wealth, permanently lock them out and stop them from crossing the gulf. And do you know how many billions are struggling and fighting, trying to cross the gulf, but they cannot? A lot of people perish where they are struggling. So many people die, perish where they are struggling to cross the gulf. Abraham told that rich man that there is a vast chasm, a vast gulf that was fixed to separate the two sides. And no one can cross to the other side easily. And this gulf can be seen as both spiritual separation after death, and it could also reflect the real world disparity and division between the rich and the poor. Now, we begin to ask ourselves, those who have crossed this gulf, how did they do it? Power, special power, that is not with human beings. Spiritual powers that come only from superior spiritual beings. Deuteronomy chapter 8. Deuteronomy chapter 8. Look at verse 7. For the Lord thy God bringeth thee into a good land. Do you see that? So it's not the people of Israel that brought themselves into the good land. It's the Lord himself that brought them into the good land. A land of brooks of water, of fountains and depths that spring out of valleys and hills. A land of wheat and barley and vines and fig trees and pomegranates. A land of oil, olive and honey. A land wherein thou shalt eat bread without scarceness. Thou shalt not lack anything in it. A land whose stones are iron, and out of whose hill thou mayest dig brass. Do you notice this land? The Lord constructed the land so that it will be land full of wealth and riches for everybody. If there's stone at the back of your house, it becomes iron. You can begin to become ironmonger or iron seller. Verse 10. When thou hast now eaten and you are full, then thou shalt bless the Lord thy God for the good land which he has given thee. He said, beware that thou forget not the Lord thy God in not keeping his commandment and his judgment and his statutes which I commanded this day. Because I told you, it's only spiritual beings that can cross you over that gulf. The same thing with darkness. The same thing with occultism. The moment you get to that side and you get rich and wealthy, you have to obey their law, otherwise they will finish the person. They don't forgive. That's the same thing God is telling them here. He said, if you cross that side and you get to that land, you start to enjoy. If you mistake, trouble will start. Fool, and I'll build goodly houses and dwell therein. And when thy herds and thy flocks multiply, and thy silver and thy everything multiplies. If you have 100 pounds, it multiplies. If you are doing business, it multiplies. That's the characteristics of that gulf of riches and wealth. That's what happens there. Multiplication. Verse 14. Then thy heart be lifted up, and thou forget the Lord thy God, which brought thee forth out of the land of Egypt, from the house of bondage. Do you see that? The other side of is bondage. That's the one we are struggling every day. Today you fight for your leg, they seize your hand. Tomorrow you fight to free hand, they seize the leg. Then they tie chain here, you lose it. They tie the other side, you lose it. That's what happens in land of bondage. Verse 15. Who led thee through that great and terrible wilderness, wherein were fiery serpents? I told you that the other side is full of serpents. All kinds of people, you come across them in the school, serpents, in the place of work, pythons, all kinds of people. The other side, the gulf of riches. If you go there and see life, they don't believe in witchcraft that side. Because they are, it's this side that we have to trade knuckles with vulture and all kinds of things here to survive. They who led you through that great terrible wilderness, wherein there were fiery serpents and scorpions and droughts, where there was no water. Who brought thee forth water out of the rock of flint? Verse 16. Who fed thee in the wilderness with manna, which thy fathers knew not, that he might humble thee, and that he might pray to do thee good at thy later end. Verse 17. And thou say in thy heart, my power and the might of my hand has gotten me this wealth. But thou shalt remember the Lord thy God, for it is he that did what? That giveth thee power to get wealth. Do you see that? I told you that for any human being to be able to cross to the other side, the gulf of wealth and riches, spirit beings, superior spirit must be involved. They are the only one that can cross you. Except people before you crossed and you were born the other side. But do you know some people can be deported also from that side? There are some people born at the other side, they deported them back to this side. So the moment the person gets to that side and is not keeping the law, they will deport the person back. So brethren, that's why I say it is miracle we need today. This kind of miracle I read to you, the type of miracle that Cyrus, which work did Cyrus do? Do you know that Cyrus literally, if you have time, go and read it on your own. Read Nehemiah, read Ezra. You see that Cyrus literally gave the money, physical cash, to Zerubbabel, to Joshua the high priest, to all of them, to Ezra, to Nehemiah. He gave them the money, cash, to go and rebuild Jerusalem. Do you know how much that will be today? That will be serious. Because Jerusalem was destroyed and burnt down. Nothing was left there. The temple, they crushed the whole wall of the temple onto the foundation. So for them to rebuild it again, serious money. And Cyrus just signed off the money and handed it over to them. That's what you call wealth. It was so much that when Jesus came, the disciples, when each time they go to Jerusalem, they were showing Jesus the magnificence of the temple. They said, do you see? It was the temple they rebuilt. People were going there for sightseeing to go and look. And it was money that came from Cyrus. That is not poverty line. That is crossing the gulf into riches. And you will cross that gulf today. Let's close our eyes. Begin to talk to the Lord. And say, my God and my Father, anything at all that I have done, any law that I have broken, that have confined me permanently to the side of poverty, to the gulf of poverty, Father, please, Lord, I beg you in the name of Jesus, forgive me. Lord, forgive me. My God, forgive me. Have mercy upon me, Lord. Lord, forgive me. My Father, forgive me. Lord, have mercy upon me. Pity me, Lord. Pity me, my Father. I am deeply sorry. I am completely sorry, my God and my Maker. Have compassion on me, Lord. Oh God, my Father, I beg you. Let mercy arise and avail for me now. Oh, mercy of the Most High God, for me. Arise and avail. Oh! There are so many prayers we are going to pray here today, and I plead with you to key into these prayers. The Father said we should cry like this. Say we should cry like this. Say, you that chain. You that ancient chain. You the chain of sorcery. You the chain of occultism. You the chain of witchcraft. You're the foundation that they used to tie me down. And the gulf of poverty. Please, brethren, pray these prayers. This is the first prayer the Father said we should pray. I told you this before. Of this woman that called me from the US. She's a Nigerian. Somebody gave her my number. And she called for prayers. And I prayed with her. And she had a dream. In that dream, she saw herself. She said it was around when she was around 16 or 18 years. And she remembered that cloth she was wearing, that she had exactly that cloth when she was that age. And she saw herself. If you go to Oxford Street, the center of Oxford Street, it says something like that, where a lot of crowd are passing. Shops are busy. He said in the center, they use this kind of chain. He said the chain is bigger than the one they used to do anchor for sheep. So he said they tie one on her leg, tie the other leg, tie the hands, and then tied it to, he said the column, the pillar, It's like those Colosseum in Rome. He said that's the kind of pillar they tied it to. And she was there wearing that same dress she had when she was around 18 years old. And people were passing, people were going up and down, and nobody was talking to her. And she has been there for long. And she said that each time she tried to move, he said the kind of noise that the chain will make will terrify her herself. The kind of noise is to alert those who tied it that she's trying to move. So they tied her not to move, and she was 60-something years. She was a trained nurse. And she had no husband, no child, and no job in US where they are looking for nurses. She couldn't even afford to buy telephone card to call me for prayers. So is it not somebody that tied that in? And do you know, except she comes across things like diadem and come and literally live inside the church and just put all the prayers we have prayed since 2010 and pray it non-stop, everything, that's the only solution. Otherwise, she will die and rotten and her skeleton will fall off from that chain. The other prayers I prepared, we're going to pray. The father said, no, go straight into the prayer. You don't have much time. He said, let's cry to him. You that foundational chain. You that chain of sorcery.
Thank you for watching. If this message blessed you, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to join our growing community of faith. You've just listened to the sermon, but there are powerful prayers that follow. Due to social media rules and guidelines, the prayers have been removed from this video. However, you can access the full prayers and more life-changing resources by visiting www.pastorhillary.org or downloading our app, Diadem Media. If you're in the London area, we'd love to have you fellowship with us in person at 4 Pegamoid Road, N18 2NG. If you have any questions about this message, want counseling from Pastor Hillary, or wish to share your testimonies following the prayers, please leave a comment below and someone from our team will get in touch. Until next time, may God bless you abundantly and guide you in all your ways. Stay victorious.